Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Mira Ramadhanti. I am a student at Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University, Jakarta. The discussion in this video will be different from the previous video, which retells novel. This time, I will give a review of one of the textbooks that I read. The title of the textbook I read is Communicative Language Teaching, an Introduction. This book was written by William Littlewood and published by Cambridge University Press in 1981. This book has 95 pages to cover the material, and if with further reading, bibliography, and also the index, there are 108 pages. And before discussing the content of the book, I will briefly introduce the author of this book, namely William Littlewood. William Littlewood worked in secondary schools and teacher education in the UK before moving to Hong Kong, where he has worked at tertiary institution and is currently honorary professor at Hong Kong Baptist University. He has published widely in applied linguistics and language teaching. His books have been used widely in teacher education and translated into several languages. Other books he wrote, besides Communicative Language Teaching and Introduction, are Foreign and Second Language Acquisition, Language Acquisition Research and its Implication for the Classroom, Hong Kong Students and Their English, and Teaching Oral Communication, a Methodological Framework. Okay, next, I will introduce the material discussed in the book Communicative Language Teaching, an Introduction. You can see the picture I attached. So, in this book, there are 8 chapters of material discussed, namely, what is communicative ability, relating forms to meanings, communicative activities, some general considerations, functional communication activities, social interaction activities, listening activities, choosing what to teach, and a communicative approach. Looks interesting after seeing what will be discussed, right? And next, I will give a little review of the discussion, each chapter. Next. Okay, let's start with chapter 1 about what is communicative ability. The meaning of communicative ability is a person's ability to understand communication knowledge both within himself and others. This chapter discusses the 4 broad domains of skills which make up a person's communicative competence and which must be recognized in foreign language teaching. For the sake of simplicity, they are here presented only from the speaker's perspective. For example, students must know the linguistic system, be able to understand what they can master, develop the ability to use language to communicate, and be careful with the social meaning of language form and prepare a way to solve the problem if there is one. Next chapter, relating form to meanings. The way to relate form to meanings is by practice. There is a structural practice to provide a point of departure for other, more communicatively oriented activities. Next is relating communicative function, where students practice to respond to situations which are realistic ways of performing useful communicative act or they might expect to encounter at some time. Third, relating language to specific meanings by asking students to adapt to their language, which will later reflect some aspect of non-linguistic reality. The last one, relating language to social context as students interact as equal partner in an exchange rather than merely reacting to stimuli. Next chapter is about communicative activities, some general considerations. In this chapter, explain some of the general features of communicative activities. There are two types of communicative activity. The first is functional communicative activities, which explain that students use their own language to make it easier to get meaning that is easier to understand. The second, social interaction activities, which explain that students do not only focus on the way of communication, but also pay attention to the social conditions around them. Next chapter is about functional communication activities. Functional communication activities are activities where students determine how to deal with situations given by the teacher. The teacher's goal is to put students into situations so that they can slowly develop their ability to communicate. In this activity, students have to think creatively with the language used because the situation is a little out of control by artificial conventions. The situation will be a little difficult to predict, and learners must draw on a wider range of skills and strategies in order to get new meaning across. Learners also need to develop greater skills for managing the interaction because of a gradual increase in the range of communicative function. Okay, next chapter is about social interaction activities. Social interaction activities are activities where students are required to learn to interact not only in the classroom but also in the outside the classroom, such as in the surrounding environment. This activity can also help students to improve their communication skills. An example of social interaction activities that can be carried out in the classroom is by doing role playing. This role playing helps students to do something related to the surrounding environment. This activity allows students to discuss, demonstrate, and understand well. Next chapter is about listening activities. Listening activities are activities where students not only hear someone's word, but they must be able to understand what they are saying and be accepted by their brains. This activity can be well received by students if they themselves feel motivated to be able to understand what other people are saying. Listening for interest is probably best organized when the method or strategies used by students match with them. Simple interest or curiosity is the most needed thing so that students can be enthusiastic about learning. On the other hand, teachers can provide more systematic opportunities for developing the strategies when control their learners listening by meaning of specific goals. And the next chapter is choosing what to teach. Topics and so on are most likely to be relevant to the student's need. Teachers must rely ultimately on their own intuition and observation. However, they can make their task easier by using published checklists. The topic is what the students should be able to do with communicative functions. Overall, communication is needed so that students can express what the teacher has taught well. And the last chapter is about a communicative approach. A communicative approach is based on the idea that learning language successfully comes through having to communicate real meaning. When students are involved in real communication, their natural strategies for language acquisition will be used, and this will allow them to learn to use the language. There are several factors that make learners successful in applying it. Communicative interaction gives learners more opportunities to express their own individually in the classroom. And then the teacher's roles as co-communicator helps students to break down tension and barriers between them. Okay, so that was a summary of the 8 chapters of this book. I recommend this book for someone who will teach or a teacher. The reason this book is suitable for them is because this book discusses the ability to communicate for students. And a teacher would want what they teach can reach students. And communication is of course very important. From this book, we will become aware of communication in teaching a language such as foreign language or a second language. Communication in teaching and learning activities is very necessary, especially learning a foreign language. And this book provides a discussion starting from the communicative understanding, then given an explanation of several activities such as functional communication activities, social interaction activities, and also listening activities. Not only that, there is also a discussion of what is done in the classroom to be conducive and make students not bored with learning in class. And the last is a discussion when communicating activities are successful in their application. And I think this book is very good and easy to understand. The language used is also light, given several examples and detailed discussions. So for prospective teachers or teachers who are confused about communicate well for students, let alone teach a language, this book will help. And that's all I can say for this video. Hope it's easy to understand what I'm saying. And if there are mistakes in the pronunciation of words, I apologize. Thank you everyone for watching this video till the end. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.